What famous person did you regret meeting because they were an ass? Story 1. Met Tiger Woods when I was 15. He slapped my hat out of my hand. A different golfer whom I didn't know ran up, picked up my hat, and asked if his signature would be okay. I agreed, but I don't know who he was or what his name was, but my grandpa was pleased upon seeing it. Story 2. I was the ass. I saw Don Cheadle at an airport and was thinking about Ocean's 11 and said to my friend, "Dude, it's Bernie Mac." And he looked back and said, "No, I'm the other black guy from Ocean's 11, but at least you like the movie." Story 3. David Cross is pretty miserable. He's from Atlanta, and his sister runs a food truck in town. Her recipes were all named after David Cross / Arrested Development type stuff. So my wife and I, being fans of David, asked about it, and she told us she was his sister. So for months we chat her up anytime we order food from her truck, and eventually David's in town. She advised us to come to the food truck park to meet him, so we bring a poster from the early 2000s and are super pumped to meet him. We get there and she's very anxious and hesitant to introduce us. Weird, but okay. No, it's okay, I'll introduce you. She does, and he was incredibly dismissive and unpleasant. Never heard of anyone having a good interaction with him. Best interaction was with Conan O'Brien. He's a total class act. Chatted him up in the bathroom line of all places and said my wife and I were huge fans. He said we should come by the table to chat. I told him we didn't want to interrupt his dinner, but he insisted. Then asked if we wanted pictures and was super cool. Story 4. My dad has been a radio personality for over 30 years and worked in country music for over half of it. He gets to meet celebrities semi-regularly. Apparently Keith Urban was really nice. Carrie Underwood was kinda mediocre because he called her right after her performance and she was tired. But Kenny Chesney puts the D in D-bag. Direct quote from my dad. Kenny promised to sign some pictures, t-shirts, etc. for a couple of kids who won a game through the radio. Kenny instead took a bunch of groupies into one of the back rooms of the radio station with a bottle of whiskey and locked the door. When my dad tried to get him to open the door and fulfill his end of the deal, he called the cops on my dad, and he was lucky enough to get a cop who was a good acquaintance. Cops said there wasn't much he could do other than make Kenny leave, so that's what he did. Kids never got their stuff signed, so my dad gave them some coupons for free pizza. He said that after a few years, other radio hosts told him that they had similar encounters. Can confirm, before he was famous, he was touring state fairs. After the show, he asked my friend and I to join him in his tour bus. We were 16. We went and hung out for a bit, got some free beers, and then when he asked us to go back to the hotel, we noped out of there. Story 5. I had the perfect combination of bad star / good star. It was at DragonCon, maybe 2005. I'm going through the big autograph room, waiting to get David Carradine's autograph. He looked so mad. He didn't say a word as I told him how much I enjoyed his work. Okay, I get it, maybe he was having a bad day. Next to Mr. Carradine was Mark Singer, the star of Beastmaster, V, etc. Mr. Singer is smiling, talking to people as they go by. He looks genuinely happy to be there. Suddenly, a woman behind me stumbled and dropped a huge stack of materials she wanted autographed. Mr. Carradine looked down on her like she was a bug. Mark Singer jumped over his table and started helping the woman pick up her things. Didn't hesitate one moment, just started helping. That's when I decided that if I ever became famous, I was going to be like Mark Singer, not David Carradine. Story 6. Bobby Flay. We paid hundreds of dollars to go to a fancy event he was participating in, waited for a long-ass time just to meet him and say hi. He looked at us and walked away. Was a dick about it, too. Never really liked Bobby Flay. The dude basically took Iron Chef and tried to steal it and Americanize it and call himself an Iron Chef. I've eaten that mess of grill in Vegas. Not surprised it lost its Michelin star. Also, Flay has no other restaurants with a Michelin star. At this point, he is just a celebrity that is a chef, slaps his name on a few restaurants, and that's it. Story 7. Reggie Jackson. He was a childhood idol of mine. I got the opportunity to get a photo with him at some booth at a trade show called Internet World years ago during the .com boom. No one was in line to get pictures with him, so I walked up to get a photo when he was apparently trying to get the girls in the next booth over to sleep with him. He acted all bugged that I asked for a photo, even though that's what he was hired for, and rolled his eyes. I guess he thought I cock-blocked him by just showing up in line to get a picture. I tossed the picture in the trash once I got it. Later that day, I got a ball signed by Steve Garvey, who was super nice. He replaced Reggie Jackson as my hero that night. Most interactions involving Reggie Jackson that I've read about have been negative. That said, my dad used to work as a mechanic, and I'm not sure if he worked on Reggie's car, but he got to speak with him for a short time. He said he was a nice enough guy. My mom was pregnant with me at the time, and he asked him if he could write an autograph for me, which he was happy to do. I still have it. Just on a regular cardstock piece of paper, it says, "Redditing at work 5. Good luck, Mr. October." He also met Ricky Henderson a few times through the same place, and my dad loves Ricky Henderson. Says the man of steel is always cool and pleasant. I've got a couple of signed cards from him. Story 8. Me and my sister saw Alec Baldwin, Tina Fey, and Salma Hayek on the street when we were eating lunch. They were just coming out of a car, about to go into some building next to us. We had no idea why they were together, but in retrospect, it was definitely because they were filming 30 Rock together. My sister said, "Oh my God, is that Tina Fey?" And Alec Baldwin turned around and went right in her face and said, "Don't fucking say that. Don't speak to us. Why would you say something like that? You can't speak to us. Not now." But it didn't really end there. He yelled again at us outside of his building saying, "Don't look over here. Turn around and eat your food. Fuck off." He sounded genuinely furious at us, almost like he wanted us to yell back and start something with him. Honestly, my sister was on the verge of tears. It was horribly embarrassing. Everybody knows now that Alec Baldwin has a history of screaming at people, but at the time, we had no idea. Don't get me wrong, my sister shouldn't have yelled at Tina Fey like that, but the way Alec snapped was straight up scary, like he was about to physically hurt her. Salma Hayek and some other lady who I didn't recognize came over and apologized to us. She asked if we wanted her to go and get Tina and get her autograph because apparently Tina felt bad too, but we said no. She then talked to us about the food we were eating, which was Mexican food, and we ended up having a brief conversation about New York's lack of quality Mexican food. She was incredibly charismatic and sweet. Story 9. Ace Frehley of Kiss. I was at a rock and roll TV movie memorabilia convention in the mid-90s, shortly before the Kiss reunion, and he clearly didn't want to be there. He didn't talk to fans, didn't say hi. Hell, he didn't even look at you when you came to his table. He just signed whatever you placed in front of him, and then you were hustled away. On the other hand, Adam Batman West was at the next signing table, and he was a totally cool guy. Shook hands, chatted with everyone, signed whatever we wanted, posed for a picture, etc. Meeting him more than made up for Ace's surly, hung-over douchebaggery. Story 10. When I was 6 or 7, Hulk Hogan pretend WrestleMania chased me out of a boardroom I wasn't supposed to be playing around in at a Little League complex, Cross Bayou in Pinellas County. Anyways, the story is my dad was coaching a game for my brother's team. I went to sneak around in an empty room. Hulk's son played baseball there too, and he must have seen me sneak in the room. I was hiding under the front desk when he came in with his Hulk voice, "Who's sneaking around in here?" And 7-year-old me nearly had a heart attack. He play chased me out of the room while I snuck out, acting like he couldn't see me. Looking back at it, you can tell he was just having fun with the kid and his famous persona. But at the time, I was absolutely traumatized and nobody believed my story.